very different and very special 5 minutes at the Frat House. Hey, this is our, I guess we might make this an annual thing, NFL Roundtable. We are 2 weeks into the NFL preseason. And so what we decided to do was just, hey, that's all we're going to do this whole show is just talk NFL. And we've broken it down to 4 different topics, and we're going to keep it to about 5 minutes each. That's it. And we even have a special timer over there who's going to be hitting the horn if we go over the 5 minutes. We got it, boys? All right. We know Sidekick.
Yep.
Over here we got our technical director, Brandon, and he's representing the New England Patriots. And over here, you've met Jonathan before. Jonathan Regis, who is the owner and creator of Fan Junkies, amongst many other websites. And we had him on just a couple of weeks ago interviewing him. And he's here with us live, and he's representing the New York Jets. All right? So before anybody boos, let's jump right into the NFC. All right? You're representing the Rams over there.
Yes.
A lot of things, a lot of talk in the NFC East, all right? Mm-hmm. I mean, over there we've got our Super Bowl champions, defending champions, and the Giants. Everybody's talking about the Eagles right now. I mean, here we go. I mean, it seems like last year again. I'm reserving judgment, but it seems like last year again. And then you've got RG3 down there in Washington. Mm-hmm. Then you've got your Rams out there in the West. Yep. So where are we coming down?
Well, you know, I'm this season I'm really interested to watch the NFC East because it's going to come down to quarterbacks. I mean, it's exciting.
I would agree.
You've got Eli Manning, you've got Michael Vick, you've got Tony Romo. Tony Romo, he's good, he's bad, he's good, he's bad. You never know which Tony's going to show up, but the potential's there.
Right.
You know, so you could see the good Tony show up and actually have an elite caliber quarterback. And then you've got RG3 now in Washington. You know, obviously a quarterback alone isn't going to make a team, but you know, we look what we saw with Cam Newton last year. We saw Sam Bradford 2 years ago, where the starting rookie quarterbacks come in and really kind of show well. You know, I'm hoping this year that Cam Newton doesn't have a sophomore slump like Bradford had last season. I'm hoping Bradford comes back this season. You know, the Rams now have Jeff Fisher, which I think brings some credibility to the past few horrible years that we've had.
How do you think your guys end up in the West, though?
The West is always weak. You know, San Francisco last year dominated. I mean, they had that stifling defense that they had.
Yep. Do you see that repeating? Anybody?
It could be.
I think the West is going to be a little weak as well. I don't think they're going to make leaps and bounds changes. I think everybody's going to be looking in the NFC at the East, like Sidekick said earlier. I mean, you got RG3 coming in, lots of hype. You know, he's going to probably have a very similar season to, you know, Cam Newton, as he mentioned. Maybe even you could even draw a conclusion to Peyton Manning. They don't have the most wins in their first season, but they put up good numbers. You know, and they show signs of why they were drafted with the number 1 pick or number 2 pick in this case.
Let's just talk about St. Louis just for a second. I mean, does St. Louis really legitimately have a shot at taking San Fran on?
I think with the addition of Jeff Fisher, I think they become a legitimate threat now in the West. You know, with Steven Jackson, Bradford. You know, the problem historically that the Rams always have is the line. They've got to get an O-line in, and last year their receiving core was horrible. They had a lot of young guys, and I think they need to, if they can get the receiving core set up to help Bradford, I think they've got the weapons.
Mm-hmm. Now, interestingly, we started out by talking about the East. Where do we see that coming down? Who's going to win the East?
Got to go with the Giants.
See, I think
that's our native New Yorker.
But here's the problem I have with the Giants. The Giants aren't every season dominant.
No.
Completely dominant.
Right.
Okay. And the 2 Super Bowls they have won recently have been against the Patriots. They haven't really beat anybody. If they had beat the Patriots one year and then beat another team, then I'd say, yes, they've got it. But I think they have Belichick's number when it comes to the Super Bowl appearances.
Okay. Do the Giants... All right, Jonathan's saying Giants come out number 1 in the East. Yes?
Or
are we going to the Eagles?
I think it's either the Giants or the Eagles.
It's got to be one or the other.
I don't think you can. The Redskins are going to have a nice season, but they're going to be a rookie quarterback. It's the first year.
And
they're going to have some nice games.
Unless Romo turns out to be something that we haven't seen ever before in our life.
Unfortunately, Dallas fans, I hate to tell you, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Tony Romo just doesn't have it. I think he's proved a couple of times.
He's good until December.
They can do it.
He's good until December.
He don't have what it takes. Eli, Michael Vick, I don't know if he has it or doesn't have it. He's kind of had a couple flashes along the way.
Yeah.
Eli's
it's going to
proven
depend on whether he can stay healthy or not. I mean, there it is.
If you're going to go by NFL, it goes by quarterback. Eli Manning's proven it. You got to look at the Giants.
Right.
As much as I don't particularly like the Giants as a Patriots fan.
I think the safe bet's definitely the Giants.
Right.
The key for the Eagles this season is going to be Michael Vick staying healthy.
Right.
If he gets hurt like he did Thursday night, it's going to be a long season for Eagles fans.
Right.
What do you think?
I think the Redskins.
You got to say the Giants defensive line, going back through the thing.
You know what? They really haven't lost anybody.
Okay. Okay. No, guys, finish your thought.
No, I said they really haven't lost anybody, and they're defending champions. I mean, you have to give it to them. I don't think there's anybody out there right now in the East that could really match them up. But they also show that string of sparks and just rambling off a bunch of wins, and that's really their strong suit. So.
Okay, let's jump over. We're going to take a look at, since we've got two AFC East representatives, let's go take a look at the AFC East. And Brandon, I got to open it right up with you because, hey, you're representing those New England Patriots, and they were the Super Bowl contenders last year.
I have to say, first
Are
off,
they contenders this year or pretenders?
Well, let's put it this way. Last year, their biggest problem was their defense.
Yeah.
They've addressed a little bit of the defense.
Year before.
Yes, it was. They've addressed a little bit of it through the draft. They've drafted a couple guys. They've signed a few guys. But if you look at the team, it still revolves around the offense. You still got Tom Brady. You still got Rob Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez.
You got all those tight ends.
We've just signed Visanthe Sanko, and thanks to the Rams giving us Brandon Lloyd because they didn't franchise him. We got another.
That's insane.
We got receivers. We got our offense should be unbelievable. Tom Brady and that offense, they're going to be in games. If Belichick can make the defense even remotely respectable, we got to be up there.
Yeah, but your weakness is defense, though. Man.
I agree, dude. I'm not disputing you.
The problem with the Patriots is it's kind of like the greatest show on turf. It becomes a gun battle.
Did defense lose the Super Bowl for them last year?
It's hard to say. I mean, they did.
I don't know if the defense really did.
They came back. The Patriots had the lead in the fourth quarter, and they let Eli drive down the field and score a touchdown. What are you going to do?
Giants just had the motivation, though. They just had that long streak of just winning, and I think that's really what killed the Patriots. And it is their defense. Their offense is stacked.
Now, there's a bit of a, a lot of people are saying, particularly in this area, there's a bit of a circus going up there in your area.
Oh, they're a mess. That's our mess.
I mean,
they've been a mess for years now.
Is there any possibility we could see your guys coming over and knocking them out of there?
No. I still say the Patriots are the best in the East. I think they're a more powerful team right now. The Jets have a lot to prove. They made some good strides in the offseason. They brought in a couple of decent people. I think that'll help them out, but they really need to get away from that whole circus. That was the last season and the season before.
Does Tebow add anything to your team at all?
Absolutely.
Okay, talk to me about that. I mean, what in the world? I mean,
locker room presence alone. We're going to talk about, and Tebow is a big player for that, a big role player for that. Running the Wildcat with Tony Sperano there now, I think it's going to be huge. You got two quarterbacks to rely on. When a starter goes down, there's really no hopes of a team doing any good because the backups usually aren't anywhere near a starting type quarterback.
His performance the other evening in that first preseason game looked like a lot of what we saw when he was out there in Denver the other night.
He's comfortable in doing what they want him to do, and that's just come in, run the Wildcat, and be a locker room presence. And I think that's going to be huge for the New York Jets.
Is there a controversy at all there or no?
Not at all.
There isn't.
Absolutely not. I mean,
because
Sanchez
the Eagles
and Tebow hanging out together and running practices.
The Eagles tried this a couple of years ago in the last year. I believe it was the last year of Donovan McNabb. And Vick being on board. And they tried the whole Wildcat thing, and it was a disaster. It didn't work.
Well, between that with Cobb waiting in the wings, too, I mean, that was a real circus up there.
Why do you think why do you think that's going to have success up there with the Jets?
I just think they're, Michael Vick and McNabb are, they have bigger egos, I think, than Tebow and Sanchez, and I think it's going to work better for them because Sanchez, he wants to win. He's tired of all the publicity, and, Tebow wants to win as well and show that he's not the guy that's going to come in and take over somebody's spot away from them. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I think they'll do good. They'll do a lot better than last season. So.
The problem I see with Tebow is he's kind of like the yin and yang of T.O. with T.O. His T.O. had all the bad publicity and was a distraction. And I think Tebow, he comes in, he's got good, good stuff around him, but he's a distraction positively.
That's the negativity that comes in from that.
You know what I mean? Because everybody's, all Tebow, and the media's about Tebow. Everybody, and it's distracting, with having him on the team like that.
Well, it's interesting because I had used the word about him last year when he was out in Denver. I had used the word polarizing.
Yeah,
and so far, I haven't necessarily seen that he's been polarizing up in New York so much as he has been more of a distraction. I think there's a lot of question marks up there about, is it going to be Sanchez or is it going to be Tebow? How long is it going to be before Tebow actually is running the entire offense?
It's been a distraction,
I think that's not necessarily polarizing.
No, it's not. But you know what? It's not the team making the distraction like it was last season. It's the media making the distraction for the Jets now. They already came out and said
it's
exactly
the market. So in other words, it's the media market.
This may end up being a good thing for the Jets, though, because Sanchez, in my opinion, is a mid-level NFL quarterback. He's gotten them pretty far, but he's not gotten them over the hump. Tim Tebow coming in goal line situations could get them enough extra touchdowns to get them over a hump.
I could see it in a goal line situation, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Can this guy take every snap in the game? Come on.
It does appear that so far they are playing well together. If they can manage to play well together, and Sanchez can understand Tebow getting all the touchdowns when he drives the team down there, it may work for them. The rest of the AFC East, the Dolphins are a joke. They've been a joke for a while. They're still going to be a joke this year. They have no real quarterback.
They're in lockup right now.
The Bills, they got mildly better on defense. The rest of them,
one player.
Yeah, it's one team, one player. They'll win their 8 games. It's going to come down to the Jets and Patriots. Period.
All right, let's go over and take a look at our third topic, and that is, and this one's getting a little more traction, I think, recently, particularly with all the preseason games. Hey, we got replacement referees in there because, of course, as we know, the NFL and the NFL referee union just can't seem to come to terms on a new agreement. So, there's been a lot of give and take on this through the preseason. I've seen a lot of negative media coming out saying, "Oh my God, these guys are absolutely horrible. Look at this call that was missed. Look at this. These guys are calling collegiate rules in the NFL." Where is this going to end up?
Well,
Brandon?
First of all, the big problem we got here is not only do you not have the top tier officials as the NFL officials, you don't even have Division I referees. NCAA Division I basically has said you're not using our referees, they're not allowed to moonlight. So basically we're down to third tier players. You're talking about Arena League, LFL.
Rejects from the LFL.
Rejects from the
Are
LFL.
we getting LFL referees?
Rejects from the LFL.
Oh my goodness.
Supposedly.
He was fired mid-season.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of the concern here, and the NFL referee RA Association is trying to point out that the NFL needs to be worried about the integrity of their game. These guys are not top tier officials. They may have more ability for people to get at them, to influence games and gambling situations, whatever. They may not. First of all, they may not have the tools in place to do the job correctly. Let alone they may be more influential. The NFL is concerned about this. They're not saying it because they're trying to paint this picture to the public that these guys are fine, they're good. It's the two sides of the labor war.
I think they are saying it because they've gone and sent notices to the teams. Do not talk to the media about these refs. The scab referees are not allowed to talk to the media, when they visit the teams.
No.
So, the NFL's covering them up and keeping them out of the media intentionally.
Is there any update on is there any possibility we're going to see an end to this, or is this going to be what we can expect for the remainder of for the whole season?
Nothing's going on right now, so
yeah, that's pretty much what from what I've heard.
It'll probably be like a referee lockout. Maybe they'll come back in the middle of the season. Who knows?
I mean, the biggest thing you have going, the biggest mouthpiece, I guess, is Mike Piera. He works for Fox now. He used to be the head of the NFL, officials. He used to be the boss. He graded them. He would review all their calls. You know, he's an NFL analyst for Fox, and he's obviously on the side of the locked out referees.
All right,
the NFL is not happy with him at all.
Is anybody here concerned about the fact that this potentially could have an impact on really important games?
Absolutely.
It definitely could, but also over the last bunch of years, the NFL referees aren't getting any better. To me, I think they've been getting worse.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. I mean, there's so many missed calls, botched calls, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if they can do as bad of a job as that. I don't know if it's going to be as worse.
I think it's going to be 100 times worse.
Yeah,
I mean, we got referees that don't even know what teams are playing. They're calling out, Atlanta and Arizona, and I mean,
Like
come
most
on,
animals,
you want to talk about? Bush
I
League,
mean,
bro.
it is almost a little bit embarrassing. It sometimes. Now, I mean, we are in preseason though.
Yeah.
I mean, so
I think
I'm kind of hoping that there's a bit of a learning curve maybe if we have to go this direction.
I think if we see this, these interim refs for the whole season, I think as the season goes on, they will get better.
Right.
But at the same time, you almost have to put an asterisk at the end of the season to the standings.
Wow.
Because I think they're going to have that much of an impact in these games that they're going to be influencing outcomes of games negatively.
Right.
Well, another thing you got to look at is we might see a lot more instant replay. We might see a lot more
That's what I'm
delays in the
thinking.
game.
That's
Would
what
be
I'm thinking.
A big positive for the game.
It could help. It could help. They might get more stuff
You think
right.
that could be a positive?
Absolutely.
The NFL
Absolutely.
might want to think about allowing an extra challenge, this season for the head coaches, just because we got.
Well, they're gonna have
Would that
to.
would that have to go through the CBA?
I don't know about that. I
believe
think
so. Actually, I think it does
you
have
think
to
it
go.
does?
Yeah,
Wow.
I believe so.
I don't know. I don't know if they can do anything at this point,
Yeah,
but the way it is now, they get 2 challenges per game. If they're right on both of them, they get a third.
Yeah.
So is that enough to fix mistakes? Maybe, maybe not.
Right.
Their mistakes may be more blatant that they get it right all the time. Well, it'd be interesting to see down the road the challenges, the percent of challenges, how many times the head coaches were right with these officials were in the regular.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be
Right.
funny if it comes back
That'd be a
later
neat stat.
on?
That'd be a neat stat to look
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
One-
You're on that one, all right? All right, for next year.
One thing though, I would with the interim officials, the one thing I would like to applaud the NFL on, and is a positive from this, is the first. Though her background's questionable, but we have the first woman referee now
Yeah.
in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that we do have that, and hopefully in the future we can see a full-time female reffing games. I don't think I don't think it matters that you're male or
I've got
female
no issue with
reffing
it.
the games.
I've got no
but
issue with it.
I think that's a positive that
I do
comes
too.
out of this.
I do too. Absolutely. All right, let's go over and take a look at our fourth topic for this show, and it's one that you and I have kind of wanted to talk about, and we've kind of alluded to it a little bit on some of our other regular shows, and that is the issue of concussions. It really, really sprang up tremendously during last year's entire season, and then into the off season, where we have now how many? 2,000? Are we up over 2,000 former players who are all involved in a class action lawsuit against the NFL for concussion syndrome? And I know, Sidekick, you have got some pretty strong feelings about this one. So go right ahead and have at it.
Well, I don't agree with the concussion lawsuits, and that. Here's the thing: you're playing a full contact sport. I mean, they've tried to do as much as they can for safety, but broken bones, career-ending broken bones, concussions, all of these are an occupational hazard.
Right.
Of the game. These guys get paid millions of dollars. I mean, I understand some of the rookies aren't in the millions. They're a little bit lower. But these guys are making good money. And they're making good money because they're skilled at their position. Plus, I believe it's part compensation for the injuries and things like that.
Well, and the fact that they will have a shorter career than the majority of us in one particular area.
Right.
Not that I think any of us are ever going to make, tens of millions of dollars even in those jobs, but
yeah.
I hear you. Thoughts?
I don't agree with it, with the lawsuit, but I guess these guys are hurting enough, and with all their medical expenses too, they figure, what the hell, I can get a few dollars from the NFL for not having the protection and not having the equipment that they have today. But even 10 years ago, they didn't have the equipment that they have today.
There's been talk, however, that the NFL has held back on some protective type equipment that apparently is out there that they haven't.
I wouldn't doubt it, because
yet.
knowing them, it would slow the game down. It would, take away from revenue. It wouldn't look good on television. Helmets would be bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
Look like bobblehead dolls running around the field.
Exactly.
So I'm sure. I mean, in every other sport, it's been like that. So I
we've got the same situation going on over in the NHL. I mean, that's another one that's being been prone as well.
Even you're talking about the equipment and the size of the helmets. The players are a little hypocritical in this, because the first time the NFL, this CBA said, we want you to wear thigh pads, we want you to wear more leg pads, the players are coming out saying, we can't run as fast. It impedes our performance. So,
exactly.
The NFL, you can try to paint them as a bad guy, saying that they won't give them the proper equipment, but the players fight other protective equipment as well. I think the bottom line, and what's going to happen here, is as soon as this actually comes to a judge, there's going to be language within certain contracts. I've looked at this online a little bit, and it's going to come down to the language of the contracts. And the more modern contracts, the players of the more modern contracts are going to have better language to support the NFL side. Maybe some of the older players might get a few dollars out of this. If this all works out where some of the older players who need the money get a little more out of it, and they all agree to have better protective equipment, it could work out better. I don't see the NFL losing. Some people say the NFL, is in serious trouble with this, but you got to think contract language and lawyers they're going to play a big part of this.
One of the concerns that I have brought up is the impact it has, in the trickle-down effect.
Right.
Down to the Pop Warner, down to the high school, down to the middle school, where parents are saying, oh my gosh, I don't want my kids getting involved in this, and therefore, are we in fact going to be looking at stifling a whole new generation of potential football players coming up simply because there's this fear factor? And that's been my big concern. It's kind of like, and I think that the adaptation or the comparison to the smoking lawsuits that we dealt with years and years and years ago, decades ago, is very, very similar to what potentially we could be looking at here. So I'm not ready to say necessarily that the NFL is going to come out a winner. That's my big concern is,
I think what we all need to be prepared for as fans over the next 10, 15 years is a little different game. The game is going to be changed as it already is. I mean, the NFL's, they're basically taking the kickoff out of the game because of the severe hits.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be gone eventually. It's just a matter of time. And the players coming up from the lower leagues are probably going to be playing with even more restrictive rules to try to control the impacts and stuff. And yeah, it may become a quote-unquote softer game as it goes, but it's still NFL football.
And when it
That's
does,
a violation.
And when exactly, and when it does, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm waiting for the trickle-down effect to our NHL, because I think it's going to happen there as well.
So.
What? That's for another roundtable. We'll have that one later on.
Definitely do.
Hey, folks, we hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as we have enjoyed doing it. All right, and maybe we'll do this sort of thing, again. All right, but hey, in the meantime, you know what you got to do. You got to keep us real. You got to keep us live. You got to keep us going. See you next week.